What's going on, everyone? I hope you're doing well. Today we're taking a look at what legends I recommend you unlock first if you are a newer player or someone that is still in the phase of unlocking legends. The best legends in Apex aren't always necessarily the right legends for newer players to unlock, and some legends can actually be a hindrance to the growth of your skill if you are using that legend. After you check out this video, if you need help on any of the legends we talk about, we do have guides on every legend and a playlist is in the description down below. As always, if you like this video, hit that like button, I'd appreciate it, and let's just jump right into it. Starting on the bottom of my list, we are going to have my least recommended legend, and this is actually going to be Wattson. Previously, Wattson was in the middle of my list, but I think this season has been pretty hard on her, and I am having a tough time recommending her to anyone at the moment. Wattson has a passive shield regeneration, and she can carry 2 ultimate accelerants in a single stack, plus they fully charge her ultimate with a single use. Her tactical is fences that she can place on the ground to hold up areas on the map, and her ultimate is a pylon that will stop incoming grenades and ultimates like Bangalore or Gibraltar, to name a few. Apex Legends is a movement game, and while Wattson can be used aggressively, I don't think she's going to help a newer player really learn movement and gun skill that a lot of the other legends can better assist with. If you are grinding ranked with a squad, then you may want to take a look at Wattson, but for the most part, her stationary type of play I think will hinder your growth rather than help it. I do absolutely adore Wattson's lore and her type of style, but her 2-year-old kit is just not conducive to the current meta of Apex Legends, which again, is going to be movement and fast-paced action. Likewise with Wattson, we are going to now have Crypto at number 11. Crypto for me is my favorite legend in the game, and it does pain me to put him here, but he is an extremely complex legend that requires a lot of moving parts with knowing how to use his drone, EMPing and knowing when to scan enemies, and when to be mobile and when to be in your drone. Crypto's passive is just highlighting enemies for the squad. His tactical is a drone that can do a lot of things such as scanning enemies, picking up teammate cards, opening loot boxes, to name a few. And finally, Crypto's ultimate is an EMP that will dish out 50 damage to everyone in range and briefly stun them, similar to like an arc star. Crypto's going to really require you to know your enemies, and I think he is going to be a bit harder for newer players to pick up and use effectively. I find some newer or less experienced players will just sit in the drone, and while this does have its uses, I think this is a detriment to your growth as a player, and if you are just droning too much, you are just not going to learn how to play the game as much. I do love Crypto, he is my favorite legend in the game, but right now I would recommend passing on him until you get a few more days of playtime in. Then again, if you do want a challenge, maybe just give him a try. Believe it or not, we now have Mirage at number 10 on my list. Mirage for me is a blast to play, and I think he does have some good moments and can provide a lot of laughs to the squad. Mirage, in my opinion though, is probably the hardest legend to use effectively because you do need to constantly be thinking about how to fool your opponents. Mirage's passive is invisible, reviving and respawning players at those beacons. His tactical is a decoy that gets sent out, and his ultimate is life of the party, which sends out a squad of decoys around him to fool his opponents. Mirage requires insane timing and positioning, and I just don't think a newer player will quite have this. Also, Mirage's skill is slightly capped as more experienced players can easily detect who the real Mirage is. Because of this, it again requires you to really know how to play him on a whole nother level compared to a lot of the other legends. I will say, Mirage is pretty easy to use at first glance since his abilities are simple, and getting an ultimate every 60 seconds is pretty nice. For me personally, Mirage is going to be the hardest legend on all of this list, and if you do want a challenge like Crypto, then maybe just give him a try. Moving into single digits, we are going to now have Rampart at number 9. Rampart is actually a legend who I have been enjoying lately. The meta shift of Season 10 saw light machine guns become way more relevant, which helped her out a ton with that passive ability that does give her faster LMG reloads and a 20% boost in magazine size. Rampart's tactical is an amped wall that blocks incoming damage and deals more damage when shooting through them, and her ultimate is a turret that she can place on the ground to rain some fire down on enemies. Rampart again though is a little bit like Wattson. For the most part, she is a little bit more stationary, and this will hinder a newer player's ability to learn how to run and gun. I will say though, Rampart can be used much more aggressively and effectively than Wattson in my opinion, but I think it's still going to be tough for a newer player. Rampart is due to get a buff during Season 10, which could skyrocket her on this list, but until then, I am going to recommend you pass on her for the most part. I will say, if you are looking to farm up some higher damage games, then you may want to give her a look at because the amp walls do increase damage and it will stack up in the course of your game. Number 8 is going to be my preferred ranked pick right now, and this is at least from the Bible Legends, and this is going to be Caustic. Caustic saw a sizable buff in Season 10 from Season 9 when he was pretty much terrible. Caustic's passive highlights enemies in gas. His tactical are traps that deploy on the ground that deal damage to those that walk by, making him great to defend areas and control engagements. And finally, his ultimate is a gas grenade that he can toss onto enemies to deal some damage. The gas grenade is almost like the opposite of the traps. It can be used for aggressive playmaking or tactical repositioning, and it does help keep enemies away. Caustic really has a hybrid type of playstyle between aggressive ultimate pushing and tactical trap defending, and it kind of makes him a very nice pickup in my opinion. He really does have a good balance between both offensive and defensive playmaking, which will help newer players learn both playstyles, which I think is a bonus in my opinion. My one issue is going to be that he does take a little bit more damage because he does have that bigger hitbox, although he does have a 15% reduction in damage to compensate for this. All in all though, I do think Caustic is a solid pickup right now, and I would probably give him a try if you are going to be playing more ranked Apex Legends. Before we start to get to the top half of my list, I just want to say if you have any questions regarding Apex Legends, be sure to hop over to Twitch where I do stream, and I would love to chat with you. At number 7, we are going to have the ultimate assassin himself, Revenant. Revenant is a popular pick due to his ultimate ability, which is the death totem that more or less gives players a free push to try and make a play. This totem alone can be pretty valuable for new players to learn how to make plays, knowing that they are more or less gonna get that respawn at the totem with some safety. Because of this alone, I think he is a good pickup for newer players or someone looking to make some pushes. That being said, his ultimate will not gain full effectiveness unless you are with a pre-made, well-coordinated squad, and I think for some, this might be tough to have. For the rest of his abilities, his tactical is a silence orb that stops enemies from using their abilities, and his passive allows him to crouch walk faster and climb at much higher heights than any other legend in the game. This passive, I will say, is actually a lot of fun, and it can open some creative playmaking that I would encourage you to try out. Revenant right now is a much better option for the solo player because of that buffed higher climbing ability, so I would definitely give him a try if you do want to have this, and if you do have a pre-made team, then I would absolutely recommend him. Next, we are going to look at Season 9's addition to the game, Valkyrie. Valkyrie was probably the first legend to be released that wasn't terrible or brokenly good and overpowered. Valkyrie is going to be a great pickup if you are looking for a legend with a unique movement ability and some easy rotations. Valkyrie's passive ability is a jetpack that allows her to fly around the map, and she can also target enemies when flying from balloons or dropping into the match. This does allow her to gain much better awareness as to who is around her when she is flying. Her tactical is a barrage of missiles, and they do a small amount of damage and stun enemies, similar to an Arcstar again. Finally, her ultimate is more or less a jump tower that allows her and the squad to take to the skies and rotate around the map. Valkyrie is a great pickup for those looking for non-stop action with quick rotations, and if you want some nice and unique movement, her jetpack actually allows for a lot of free-flowing in-game experiences. I can't put Valkyrie any higher though, because I do think the jetpack can be a little detriment again if you are overusing it and if you are new to the game. I think it could be tough getting used to this type of movement. All in all though, love Valkyrie. She was a good addition to the game, and I would definitely give her a try, as she is my number 6 pick. Starting off the top 5, we are going to have Fuse at number 5. Fuse is a legend that has advanced significantly on my list. Fuse has a lot of simple abilities, which in my opinion should be very appealing to newer players. His passive allows him to throw grenades at extreme distances and at much quicker speeds. The tactical is a knuckle cluster that he can more or less shoot out like a grenade, and it does allow for a lot of positional control, and it will help you get enemies out from behind cover. Finally, his ultimate is the Motherload that deploys a ring of fire on the ground, and anyone caught in this ring will be revealed for friendlies, and if they are caught in the flames, they will take some significant damage. I do put Fuse at the top 5 spot because he is a great legend for newer players that is simple but effective, which will help you not get bogged down on the abilities and help you focus on gun skill. Fuse has had a pretty big turnaround from the Season 10 launch. I would absolutely give him a look at. At number 4, we are going to have Loba. Loba has been on the top of my list for a couple seasons now after she did see a buff and a fix to her tactical bracelet. This tactical is a teleportation bracelet that she can throw to reposition herself with relative safety. Her passive is simple but effective. It allows her to see loot through walls and loot boxes, which can be pretty incredible during the early game when getting high tier loot fast is important. Finally, we do have her ultimate, which is the Black Market, and it's probably the highlight of her kit for this video. The Black Market is an extremely great tool for convenience, as it allows her and the team to pull 2 items from it and unlimited amount of ammo. This ability, I will say, isn't that powerful in terms of playmaking, but it does allow newer players to bypass some of the slower looting that they will do, and it can help them speed up play, making you focus on what actually matters, which is fighting. On top of this, the Black Market does support the entire team with almost no skill required, which can be great for those struggling to get their aim down. Loba has really come around over the past couple seasons. I think she's a solid support legend, and she's definitely a higher recommended legend if you are newer to the game and you are looking to support the team in other ways other than just fighting. At the bronze spot, or number 3, we are going to have the return of Horizon. Horizon is back, and while she might not be as good as she was in Season 7, she has seen a major step forward as her lift regained a lot of vertical movement that it previously lost. Horizon's passive is an increase in in-air maneuverability, which makes her feel almost slippery to play, and it can be quite satisfying to juke out your enemies. Her tactical is a gravity lift, which lifts her and the team up into the air, and it's a great playmaker and probably the real highlight of her kit, I would say. Finally, the ultimate is a black hole that will pull everything trapped in its range to the center, catching enemies off guard. Horizon is a great pick in my opinion. She is a very powerful legend in the hands of an experienced player, and the simplicity of her abilities will help you get accustomed to some of Apex Legends' movement, and she will even be okay for the squad as her gravity lift again is quite useful. I am so happy that Horizon is back and she feels great to play again, and she is deserving of a top 3 spot in my mind. At number 2, we are going to have Season 10 Seer. Seer is an absolute demon in the game of Apex Legends with a lot of incredible, powerful tools and abilities to his disposal. His passive is a heartbeat sensor, which will allow him to locate enemies within range of his passive and even within visual range at more or less an unlimited range. His tactical has a lot of little perks, but the main thing is going to be the scan, similar to a Bloodhound that sends out a tunnel of nano drones to reveal enemies' locations and even show their health bars. And finally, his ultimate deploys a dome of nano drones to reveal any enemies caught within inside of it. Those are the basics of Seer's abilities, but the reason why he is so good is just because of his overall utility to the team. At the moment, Seer is giving Bloodhound a run for their money in terms of who is the master of recon in Apex Legends. We are expecting a Seer nerf shortly, and by the time this video comes out, he might have already been nerfed. But however, Seer is still going to be good even after that, I have a feeling. Seer's knowledge is just so critical in helping teams determine when and how to make plays, which makes him very appealing to a lot of teams. The ultimate is brainlessly simple to use because of this. I am giving him the number 2 slot on my list. The one huge worry I will say, and if you are choosing Seer, please take note of this, I do have a worry that you may be relying on his abilities a little bit too much, and you will not be gaining skill in terms of how to track enemies without the abilities, so do not rely on his abilities. Be mindful of this, and don't become too reliant on his overall kit. And finally, our boy Octane is back on top as my number 1 recommendation in Apex Legends as the legend you should be getting first. Before we get to the reasons why, Octane has a passive which allows him to regenerate health over time, making it pretty nice to eliminate the use of small amounts of healing. The tactical is a stim that lets him move at just unnatural speeds, we'll say, and it makes a lot of enemies have a hard time dealing with this because of that speed in fights. And finally, the ultimate is a pad that allows him and the team to jump great distances for quick rotations or just straight up hopping onto a team to get the kill. Octane's abilities allow for a very natural playstyle, which will allow you to focus on what is important in Apex Legends, and this is gun skill and movement. Movement with Octane will be dialed to 11, which does help newer players learn how to move at greater speeds. Octane is also just a blast to play, which gives him one of the highest, if not the highest, pick rate in all of Apex Legends. You will be seeing a lot of Octanes around, and it's not just because he's a great beginner legend, it's because he is a top tier legend in pretty much all of Apex Legends. Of course, everything here is just my recommendations, and who you really want to play should be your first choice, as when you are starting out, the legend doesn't matter as much compared to gun skill, overall game knowledge, game sense, that kind of stuff. If you have any more questions, you can hop into our Discord where we have myself and a lot of members that are always willing to help out. Drop a comment down below and let me know who you are looking at getting next, and I can try to help you here as well. I appreciate the support. Until next time, I hope to see you live in the Twitch streams. Peace out.